What's going on, everybody? David here, back with another video. So today we're going to do the lunch break update. So we're going to talk about the stimulus package. We're going to talk about Donald Trump's tweet, and we're going to dissect this. Okay, so we're going to listen to Kelly McEnany, his press secretary. She tried to explain what the president was saying. So we're going to look at that, and then we're going to look at it ourselves and see, you know what? Maybe she wasn't correct in what she was saying as far as what the president was trying to say. So we'll look at that. I have some reasons why I think what she was saying doesn't really jive with what the president tweeted. And then we'll talk about the new unemployment filings for last week. But first, if you guys can do me a favor, please hit that like button. It does help with the YouTube algorithm. Also, if you're new here, please subscribe to the channel. We do daily videos and live streams on the weekends. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing we're going to talk about, the new unemployment filings for last week. So it's 860,000, and that is actually down. So it's starting to come down when it comes to the new filings, which is good. We had, I think it was 16, maybe 17 weeks of it being over 1 million. So this is good news when it comes to unemployment. It looks like it is starting to come down. So that's good. All right. So now we're going to talk about the tweet. First, I want to show you the tweet. We'll go over the tweet, and then we're going to listen to Kelly McEnany. She's going to explain what Trump was trying to say in this tweet, and then we're going to talk about it. So Democrats are heartless. They don't want to give stimulus payments to people who desperately need the money and whose fault it was not that the plague came in from China. Go for the much higher numbers. Republicans, it all comes back to the U.S. anyway, one way or another. All right, so that is the president's tweet. When it comes down to it, the way that I look at that is he's saying go for the much higher numbers, right? He said numbers. He didn't say go for the higher number. I'm looking at this as a good sign, and we did see Mark Meadows come out and was very, very optimistic about the new proposal that's in the House right now, coming from the Problem Solvers Caucus, basically 1.5 trillion, and it could go up to 2 trillion. It's on a stabilizer. So that was something that Mark Meadows was happy about. Mark Meadows said this is the happiest he's been in the last 72 hours, is the happiest he's been in the last 72 days. So he seemed pretty optimistic. And then you have this tweet from the president, which came out, and a lot of people looked at, and even Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer were praising the fact that he wanted to go to a higher number. And then we get Kelly McEnany, and she says this.
Anyone else?
Yes.
I'm gonna.
Go ahead.
Okay, thanks. The president said on Twitter today that Republicans should go for a much higher number when it comes to the stimulus. What did he mean by that exactly? And has he spoken to Senator McConnell or Speaker Pelosi about what number he has in mind?
Yeah, so what the president was referring to was the $500 billion bill that passed the Senate, the Phase 4 plan. That didn't include, it did not, it got 50 votes in the Senate. It's that $500 billion skinny proposal, but it didn't include direct payments. So he wants more than the $500 billion, and he is very keen to see these direct stimulus payments. And we hope that Nancy Pelosi will work with us in good faith. There are many bipartisan proposals out there that have merit. And a clear example of where Nancy stands is that everyone wants to be in D.C., seems to want to make a deal, except Nancy Pelosi. She wants to play politics. Look at the letter she wrote condemning the Problem Solvers Group proposal. That was a $1.5 trillion plan, that if the priorities were modified and made sure that there was not bailout that bailed out states that didn't have COVID-related issues, that just were blanket bailouts to blue states, that's something that we would entertain and look at. But Nancy Pelosi immediately decried that proposal in a letter because she's not interested in a deal.
Okay, so that was Kelly McEnany's explanation for President Trump's tweet. Now, I don't know about you, but just looking at the tweet, I can pull it back up again. I mean, Democrats are heartless. So he goes after Democrats first, and then he says they don't want to give stimulus payments to people who desperately need the money and whose fault it was not that the plague came from China. Go for much higher numbers. Republicans, it all comes back to the U.S. anyway. Now, the president's saying this right after the Problem Solvers Caucus puts out this proposal of 1.5 trillion. So I don't think he's referring to the skinny bill. That was last week. If he wanted to put that out, he could have put it out last week. Why put it out this week right after we see this new proposal? I'm thinking he's talking about the proposal. So from what I'm seeing, I'm thinking he's talking about the new proposal. Let me know in the comments section what you guys think. Do you think it's a new proposal? You think he's talking about the skinny bill that was last week, that failed last week? Let me know what you're talking about. And if that were the case, if he were talking about that skinny bill from last week, why didn't he mention it last week? Why didn't he say this should have stimulus checks in it last week? He knew what the skinny bill was all about. And so this is one of those deals. And we've after this tweet, of course, Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer jumped on it. Oh, go for the much higher numbers. That's what we've been asking for them, to go for a much higher number, 2.2 trillion instead of the 1.3 trillion or the 1.5 trillion. So they've already jumped on it. Then you had Mark Meadows very, very happy about this whole situation with this new proposal that was coming in from the Problem Solvers Caucus, saying, yes, you know what, this looks like something that should be considered. And so you have that, and then you have the Republican senators saying, oh, we don't want to go too high when it comes to the numbers, because then we're going to lose a lot of support from the Republican senators. And so we're looking at a situation where we have the president tweeting something. You have Kelly McEnany, his press secretary, trying to spin it in one way. Then you have Mark Meadows saying, yes, you know what? This new proposal looks really good. I think the president's on board for something like this. And then you have Republican senators saying something entirely different, saying, no, we don't want to go any higher. We don't want it to be bigger. So right now there's chaos. There is chaos between the White House and the Republican leadership in the Senate. There's chaos. They're not on the same page when it comes down to this whole stimulus package. And I've said this before, and I'll continue to say it. The only way that we're really going to get somewhere is by having the important people in the room. You need to have Mitch McConnell come in and speak on behalf of the senators. You need to have President Trump explain what he means by these tweets. Don't have his press secretary try to explain it. He needs to explain what he means by going for a higher number. So bring him into the room. They should all be sitting together with Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and trying to get this done. Simple as that. When you're trying to negotiate via tweet, it just doesn't work. They need to sit down and discuss this. And you're not going to have a lot of the Republican senators supporting this, regardless. It's just not going to happen. And so you're going to need to get the majority support from the Democrats. That's bottom line. That's the way it's going to happen. And Nancy Pelosi knows this, and she's playing hardball. It's ugly to see because people are really struggling right now. But the reason why I think she's playing hardball is because she's looking at the other side, and there's chaos over there. They don't know how the communication is just not there. They're not on the same page. So she's just waiting it out. She's going to wait it out because eventually they're going to get to where Trump really wants to go, which Trump probably wants to go 2.2 trillion. So it's one of those deals where it's just like you don't have the proper people doing the negotiating, and then you don't have a united front when it comes to the stimulus package on the Republican side. You just don't have it. You have the White House wanting one thing, senators want something. It's not going to work until you get the important people in the room and then have them hash this stuff out. However, it's just crazy to me when I'm looking at this different situation. I'm looking at Kelly McEnany, and I'm like, there's no way. I mean, that's good spin. Good try, but that's not what he was talking about. He was talking about much more. And then in the very end, he's saying that it all comes back to us anyway. So if someone tells me that, then I'm thinking, okay, well, that means that spend as much as you need right now. Don't try to be cheap right now. Spend as much as it takes. And if one side is saying it takes 2.2 trillion, go with that 2.2 trillion. It's all going to come back to us anyway. That's the way that I see it. I mean, it's kind of unfortunate, but President Trump is really messing up the strategy that the Republicans have been trying to hold this whole time. And at some point, I think it's starting to work because people are really, really upset with Nancy Pelosi right now. But President Trump messes it up by stepping in there and say, go for the much higher numbers. And it's like, okay, we've been trying to keep it low for this whole time, and now you're saying go for the much higher numbers. You're messing it up. You're messing up the strategy. And I think Mark Meadows and Stephen Mnuchin have kind of realized, hey, look, you know what? We're representing the president. Whatever he's asking for, we're going to try to push it that way. And it's just it's chaotic. It's chaotic. Could you imagine if you sit down and you're trying to buy a car? And I know I go back to this car analogy a lot, but it's a negotiation that we all go through, right? You're sitting down, you're getting ready to buy a car, and it's you and your wife or you and your husband, and you're set on a number. You get them down to that number, or you at least get them thinking about, okay, yeah, we could probably get it for 20,000 instead of the 22,000. And then your wife or your husband says, no, you know what? Let's just go for the higher number. And then that salesperson is looking at you like, okay, hey, look, your husband, your wife, they want to go for the higher number. You should go for the higher number. These are the reasons why. And so that's what we have. We have a president that's saying, go for the higher numbers. And it's like, okay, we've been trying to keep this low for all this time. I don't know. I want to know what you guys think. So in the comment section, let me know what you think about this whole thing. I mean, I think this is good news. I think we are getting closer, because this is one of those situations where now that Trump has kind of put that out there, even though they're trying to spin it a different way, it's already out there. It's out there. And you're going to have the other side. You're going to have Democrats really playing up on this and say, well, Trump wants more. Why don't you guys want more? He's the leader of the Republican Party. Why aren't you guys listening to the leader of the Republican Party? So, and I think that will work, because he's put it out there. Because if Trump doesn't clarify and say, oh, no, I was talking about the skinny bill, well, then people are going to assume that he's talking about higher numbers. So let's get up to 2 trillion. Why can't we go there? So I want to know what you guys think down below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.